All right, everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 406. Today is, if I look at my watch, the 24th of August. My brain is scrambled. I've drove about 2,800 miles, or for those of you doing kilometers, about 4,500 kilometers in the last few days, and just got to a new place and getting set up. And Bradley and Chris have been nice enough to deal with my crappy internet that I think I finally fixed. So hopefully I stay live and don't get kicked out, but let's just keep moving on. While Bradley is getting things set up here for episode 406, I'm going to check in with Chris, and then we'll go back to Bradley. So, Chris, how you doing today?
Super busy, as usual. Lots of things going on. Quite excited as well. Couple more weeks, and things are going more public for you guys, listeners here. And there's one more thing that I'm also really, really excited about.
What's that?
A live event, obviously.
Ooh, and what would the name of this live event be?
Hopefully live, obviously. So just a couple more weeks till we're all there and getting the hang of that. Like, I'm really looking forward to the VIP day. So I just know, like, people always talk about what they're working on and like the secrets that they usually don't share.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's always the best place to get new ideas and get aha moments and like, I'm gonna do this as well in my business. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Can't wait.
I am too. Well, I know I shared with you guys this morning. So David Hood is one of the presenters this year. He's going to be sharing at POFU Live, and he's going to be doing some GMB stuff that he originally had said he wasn't going to be talking about. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to be updating the page with the details, and it kind of works out. I mean, for people who are like, oh, you're just dripping out the speakers and this is part of the sales stuff. It's like, well, yeah, of course that's part of it, but it's also, people need time. We figure out who's talking about what, so everyone's not covering the same stuff. And so this was really cool because finally heard back from David, and he's been busy and was like, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about this, but like, let's do it. So we'll be updating the page soon with some more information about that. So excited about that. It's going to be good stuff. So Bradley, how much? Oh yeah, go ahead.
With that, I was just going to mention that, we sometimes we will release the recordings from POFU Live, like at a later time. You can have the option to purchase them, but not everything gets through to the recordings. Like, in other words, there's some things that can only be heard when you attend live. And that's, so, I'm not sure if David's presentation is going to be one of those. It may be. I know what he's going to be talking about as well. And it might be one of those things where it's like, if you want that data, you got to be a part of the live event, because there's some things that we just don't want to get out in the recording. So that may be one of them. But anyway,
sorry, that reminds me, the VIP day is definitely not recorded. So that's also virtual.
Sure.
But that's where the secret sauce there is. We have Bradley. We said Bradley beers as well, along with ourselves and everybody else who joins. And that's the real secret. You give Bradley a beer or two, ask him some questions, and he starts talking and sharing even more information than usual. So I think that's been one of the really highly reviewed times, as everyone really loves the VIP day.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun.
Yeah, I know I do. I'll have a beer too. And like, man, it's so fun to just kick back and talk to people. And it's much more relaxed. It's not, presenter to attendee or anything. Just have fun hanging out like we did a live, or then the last 2 years doing a virtual. It's just been a blast.
Yeah. And how often do you get to sit around when you're having beers with buddies and talk about like SEO
talking shop, right?
Like, like I'm saying, like, I'll sit around with my buddies when we're riding ATVs and stuff, and we'll talk about, engines and riding ATVs and like whatever the hell else we talk about that we have in common. But nobody that I'm friends with, that are like outside of the digital marketing world understands what the hell I do for a living. So like, there's no, like, I can never talk shop when I'm drinking with buddies or something like that, because they don't understand what the hell I'm talking about. So like, this is like one time a year that we get together and have fun, kind of in a social, but like social/professional setting, if that makes sense.
Oh, definitely. One thing I wanted to touch on, we got a couple of things, obviously, we want to talk about, but, this came up too, for those of you who are familiar, of course, with the Mastermind, or who are members, Bradley's done a lot. Since it's been a thing, Bradley's shared his SOPs and how he does things, but we've been hearing that more and more from new members. And I think we just had someone join this afternoon, or maybe it was earlier today, and just saying that, part of the reason that they wanted to join was that very thing, was the SOPs, and knowing that not only Bradley knows how to do what he does, but also then sharing the SOPs to save so much time and money. So it was really cool to get that feedback. And we know people find it helpful. And like we always say, it's not the sexy part. Bradley, like Bradley always says, he's not like, I don't like doing this. This isn't fun, but the results are just so important. You have to do this. And that, having someone do it for you, you can then take it and of course, customize it for your own needs.
Yeah.
So yeah, great to hear that from new Mastermind members. So if you're not a member, highly encourage you to check it out. You can find out more at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And then Bradley, real quick, the GMB Crush information we shared with people, because that also involves some training am I mixing up names? Is it Mateo? That's Mateo, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought so. So I know that if people got the yearly, that they got access to that training, right?
Yeah, the GMB Crush Money course. It's
cool.
It's Mateo's badass, man. He's a ninja. He's a beast. Like him and his team, they just do so much local like testing with Google Business Assets, and he runs a large agency, so he's got a lot of client projects and things that he also manages. So that he just has an enormous amount of data at his fingertips, which, as I've said before, with like my link building business, it's made me considerably better building links, having access to so much data, because I manage so many projects now across different industries, and you start to see patterns and things like that you can implement for new projects and get better results faster. So that's kind of like what Mateo does with Google Business Assets. He's got a ton of training, does a ton of testing and all that. He's always producing really good, helpful content that he posts in his Facebook group. So anyway, long story short, his app's called GMB Crush. It's great. It's a Chrome extension. It does a lot of cool things. He's also got like a SaaS app that you can log into and create prospecting reports and do audits and things like that. It's nice. It's a good app. It's visually appealing. I like that. It's kind of attractive. The reports, instead of just like being kind of boring, it's kind of got this like comic book feel to it with his graphics and artwork and all that. So it looks good. It's good data. And then also the training course, which you can only get if you purchase one of the yearly plans, is totally worth it. It's worth it for that alone. Forget the app. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. Don't tell Mateo I said forget the app. But what I'm saying is the app is good, but the training in itself is worth the cost of a yearly license, because again, the amount of data that he has, and just from his posts in his free Facebook group, you can tell that like the guy knows his stuff. So I would encourage anybody that, check it out. The app in itself is a good app, but the training I think is super valuable because of all the data that he has. So check it out.
Nice, cool. And I just put that on the page. And then if you're on the email, if you get email notifications from us, you've probably also seen that. So you can go back and check those out. So guys, anything else we need to cover before we hop into questions?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think that's it. All right, let's do it.
All right. I think we had quite a few questions already, so jump right in.
Cool. I can
okay, yeah.
now. Maybe there we go. I can got your full screen.
Okay, sweet. Let's see. Let me find out. There's, I guess, Mini Chat is trying to sell us something. We might want to look at that just because.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay, what's the difference between semantic links and a niche PBN? Also, are these rebuilds updated with content or just static sites? Won't they become less effective over time if they don't have fresh content? Good questions. Okay, so the difference, well, semantic links and a niche PBN, the difference, well, semantic links is like the name of my link building business, but they could also be the name of the links, right? Because they're semantically, topically relevant link building. That's all I do, right? So I have what I call rebuilds, which are domains that are rebuilt, like they're I call them rebuilds, but they're domains that have been reclaimed, right? That have been expired. They used to have former content on them, but they expired. And then I find them hunt them down in the appropriate kind of topical trust flow categories. Look at all the history of the domain to make sure that it hasn't been spammed. It's got clean history, clean backlink profile. It's relevant. The former content was either an exact match type of topical category or a closely related category. All of that. And I call those rebuilds, and those are custom built sites on domains that I hunt down for your project or for the project that, the project that they were purchased for. And then they're built with 1,000 plus word articles that are optimized for its intended target and published on a single page HTML landing website. So it's basically like a 1-page article website. Why do I do that? Well, because it satisfies both page level relevance and domain level relevance all at the exact same time, which is what matters for links now, right? Relevance matters, period. But you can oftentimes get links from relevant pages, but what is the source domain or the referring domain? What is the topical category of the source domain? That's where it's difficult to get a relevance match. It's almost always, unless you're doing mass links from like using like bulk spam tools and things like that, if you're buying decent quality links of any kind, you're generally always going to get a link that it's on a that has page relevance match, right? So topical relevance at the page level is a match. But what is the topical category of the source domain or the referring domain? Is that a match? And if it's not, that link has just now been devalued or given less weight, if that makes sense. It's not as effective because there's not a good match there. You should have kind of both of those relevance matches, page level and domain level, if that makes sense. So the reason why the rebuilds, which are the custom built domains, like we go out and hunt down domains custom for that project in the appropriate topical trust flow category with clean histories and relevant content or a related category. Former content was relevant or related category. We build those sites with 1,000 plus word article optimized for its intended target and then publish it on a single page HTML site. So it satisfies both page level relevance and domain relevance all in one fell swoop. Boom. That's why they work so well. The niche PBNs are what it sounds like. They're blog sites. So instead of them being single page sites, they are blog sites that have multiple posts. But I'm building my PBN sites the same way that I just described the single page HTML sites, or what I call rebuilds. So that, in other words, they're topic clustered sites that I build that are all full. The entire site and every single post on that site is about one specific topic. And I build them on the same kind of domains that I build rebuilds on. So in other words, I go out and I hunt down domains that are in a specific topical trust flow category. I look at the former content, the former history, all of that, make sure all of that is clean and valid and relevant. And if it passes all of those tests, then I will purchase that domain and then put a PBN, a blog on it with every single post on that site around one specific topic, right? So again, then I can build links from that blog and still satisfy page level relevance match and domain level relevance match. So you get similar effect as you do with the individual rebuilds. The only difference is that obviously the PBN sites are not going to be exclusive to your project. They're going to be shared across other people that are also need links, and for some of my own projects as well. I started building these sites for myself only, personally. Seriously, I started building these kind of PBN sites for my tree care stuff. So I built 30 sites, about 16 or 17 sites specifically for tree service stuff. And then I had about 13 or 14 sites built for lawn care and landscaping stuff, which all of that is kind of relevant to tree service stuff. And then when I started building links to my own lead gen assets and then for my agency clients, which are all tree service clients, or most of them anyway, I started seeing the same kind of results that I was seeing from the rebuilds that I do for my monthly link building clients. And so I was like, well, hey, if it's that effective, then why don't I start building these kind of sites for my link building clients as well? So I started building them in the categories, the topical categories that I have the most clients in. So the biggest network that I have right now is in the legal space for attorneys, which I've got all different types of topic clustered sites in the legal space now for personal injury attorneys and criminal law or criminal defense attorneys, family law attorneys, real estate attorneys, like all this different kind of stuff. So immigration law, so basically I have this big legal network now. I'm working on a health network that will satisfy, chiropractors and dentists and, things like that. But I've got my building and construction network, which covers roofers, plumbers, HVAC, carpenters, all that kind of stuff. And then I have the tree service, lawn and landscape kind of PBN network now that I built, which again was where I started, and I did that for my own stuff. So that's really the difference. Rebuilds are custom exclusive domains specific for your project. The niche PBNs that I build are similar in their effect, but they're not exclusive. But they have the same kind of page level and domain level topical relevance match, which is why they're so effective. if that makes sense. It's a little bit more cost effective to go the PBN route, but obviously they're not exclusive to your asset. But I always recommend, and I started recommending this to my link building clients too, my monthly link building clients, is that I started working in some of those PBN posts into their monthly link building service, like the links that I provide to them on a monthly basis. The reason for that is also to add more link diversity. So different types of platforms, so that not all the links are coming from single page HTML sites. Even though I've kind of covered all of like potential footprint issues by, I use dozens of different cloud hosts and in dozens of different data centers, almost dozens of different data centers per cloud host, but sometimes it's less than that. But, and then I also use Cloudflare a lot. So, in various Cloudflare accounts. So mixed between all of that, I've kind of hidden any footprint there. But if all of your links come from the same type of link source, like all HTML pages, they're all single, that in itself is kind of can be a footprint. So I started to mix it up and started to adding in some CMSs or content management systems so that the links have more diversified link profiles. So, and I'm going to be building, it's not going to be probably until October now, but I've got some other kind of a different CMS platform that I'm going to start building some sites on too, so that again, I can add more diversity into the backlink profile. So that's the difference. Now, just one thing, and again, guys, this is not to pitch my services, but I've got on Vetted, which is the kind of marketplace that I've added the PBN style links to. I just today added a new service onto that, which is custom rebuild, like the rebuilds but one-off rebuild purchases. So the rebuilds so far have been exclusively, which is what I do for my monthly link building clients. That's been exclusive to them. Like, you want rebuilds, you come in, you subscribe for a monthly link building service, and that's what we provide. But I've had a lot of requests coming in lately for that people that don't want to go on to a monthly subscription, but want custom rebuilds and want us to do it for them. So I put this service today, which is the custom semantic link rebuilds, custom link building with 100% topically relevant links, on Vetted. So this is now available on Vetted. Again, guys, you can just go to Vetted and find my profile right on the front page now. And you can click through. I don't know if I just published this gig today, so I don't know that it's been approved yet. You can visit it if you go directly to the link, but I don't think it's showing on my profile just yet because it has to be approved by Vasco first, which I sent him a message in Facebook. It will be available. It will be approved and live by tomorrow morning. I'm sure, 100% sure it'll get approved and it'll be live. Currently, it looks like you can purchase it. I don't know if you can. I haven't tested it, but here it is. And I'm just saying that because I have my monthly subscription for custom rebuilds, which is what I do for most of my link build agency clients, because it's hands-free for them at that point. They don't have to keep submitting orders, right? You submit an order once, I take care of everything on a monthly basis. But if you want to do one-off link pack purchases, this is the way to go. Or if you want to go with the PBN style links, which you get more volume of links that way, then I also have my other service on Vetted, which if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, that's this one here. So again, guys, this was not here to pitch my services. I'm just sharing what the difference is. And then I'm going to come back and answer the question about static sites and if they atrophy over time, which they do, but I'll explain to you how you beat that. So this is semantic links rebuilds gig on Vetted. Okay, so this is in case you guys are interested in that. There you go. All right, moving on back to the question. Okay, are these rebuilds updated with content or just static sites? No, they're just static sites. They're HTML sites. They're not CMSs. So we're not going in publishing additional content. However, especially for local, what I always recommend is that we can do it for, if they're local sites, you can do up to 3 links per rebuild, or because the rebuilds are the static sites, right? The other ones, the PBN niche relevant PBN links, those are blogs. So we do add new posts to those regularly. So that's not an issue. But on the HTML sites, what I do is I run for my monthly link building clients. I will not offer this as part of the one-off link packs, the custom rebuilds link packs. I can't offer it for that. But for my monthly link building clients, I run click-through rate manipulation traffic. So CTR referral traffic through the tier 1 links, specifically for the reason that you just mentioned. What link atrophy is a real thing, guys. It's known. Another term for that is link decay, right? So when a link is placed on a page and that page never gets any traffic, And if the domain never gets any traffic, so there's what's called a decay rate, or how quickly a link becomes, or a link's effectiveness becomes less valuable, right? Atrophy is a known thing that occurs when a link is placed and that link never receives any activity, or the page receives the page that it's placed on never receives any traffic or activity. Then that link decays, its value diminishes over time, right? That's, again, link atrophy. It atrophies. But the rate at which it decays varies on many, there's a bunch of different factors that can affect its decay rate. Mostly traffic signals. Okay, that's mostly what affects it. So what I'm saying by that is, if you think about it, if you get a link on a page, on a site, a website that gets a lot of traffic, but that particular page doesn't get any traffic at all, that link is going to lose effectiveness, lose value over time. But the domain itself, because the site gets traffic, it's going to be a slower rate than if you place a link onto a site that never gets any traffic at all, meaning the page and or the domain, right? If neither one of those get any traffic, that link becomes less valuable very, very quickly. It decays a lot faster. If the domain gets a lot of traffic, but the page does not, then it still decays, but it decays at a slower rate. If the page gets traffic, but the link never gets any click activity, it will still decay, but it will decay at a slower rate than it does if the page gets no traffic and the domain does that make sense? So I'm saying, like, on a scale, I'm going up, like what makes it atrophy the least amount, right? So now if you can get click-through activity on that link, that prevents it from atrophying, right? From decaying, because it now is receiving signals, activity, engagement signals. So you can manipulate that. That's precisely what I do with my monthly link building clients. Is for tier 1 links, we only do this for tier 1, but we send referral traffic through those links. So all I do is I extract the monthly links, the links built for the month, and plug them into CTR Booster. That's what I use for referral traffic right now. Kind of plug them into CTR Booster on a referrer campaign. Those tier 1 links, URLs being the referrers. And then I put, because tier 1 links for local projects, we always link to the money site. So any page on the money site that is specified either by you or our client, or we determine where to build the links. For a lot of my clients, they just say, hey, you take care of everything, and that's what we do. So there's going to be a money site link. There's going to be a Google Business website link if that's been provided to us, either an anchor text link to the Google Business website or an embed of the Google Business website. And then the Google Map, generally like 99 or 98% of the time, it's going to be a map embed. And so we'll send referral traffic through using CTR Booster. Again, we extract the monthly links, the tier 1 links that we built. We put those URLs into CTR Booster as referrers. And then we have CTR Booster open up a browser. It's all geolocated. So we have to open up a browser, pull up that tier 1 rebuild, and then find one of those Google Business asset links or a money site link on the page, and then click through, and then, engage with that page too, the target URL. It'll do some scrolling and some clicking on that eventually as well. So that prevents it from atrophying. I cannot offer that on one-off purchases, but on monthly link building, that's what I can do. But you can, right? You can do that if you have your own kind of CTR manipulation tools. You can send referral traffic through it. Also, if you have a Google Business website embed in the tier 1 rebuild, and you're publishing Google Business posts regularly, isn't that dynamically updating the static HTML page? Because you have an embed and you're publishing posts, and your Google Business website will be updated each time you publish a new post, right? So that's a way to add dynamic updating to a static HTML page. You can do an embed. I don't recommend embedding a money site because you can cannibalize your money site that way. I've seen it happen. So I stopped doing money site embeds. We do Google Business website embeds, and we'll do map embeds, and we'll do tier 1 rebuild embeds in tier 2s, in tier 2 rebuilds. But we don't like to, and we'll do other embeds in tier 2s as well, but we don't like to do money site embeds in tier 1 rebuilds because it can cannibalize the money site page, if that makes sense. But you could also, you could do an RSS feed embed from, relevant sources, if that makes sense. You could do, an RSS feed embed or in the HTML sites as well if you wanted. So one of the things that you can do is on the rebuilds, if you always have this option, is to have us send you the HTML files and you can host them yourself. Then you can do whatever you want. You could, again, I frame in like, you know, press advantage organization page. We do a lot of press releases for my agency clients, and then even for some of my link building clients. It would make sense to perhaps embed the press advantage organization page, because every time a press release is published now, it's automatically going to update that page, if that makes sense. So there's a number of ways that you can add dynamic content updates to a static HTML page using iframes. That makes sense. You can iframe the Google business website, press advantage organization page, or you could just iframe an RSS feed into the site. And there's Lisa Allen has a product called Rank Feeder, which is a RSS splicing app that is made for SEO purposes. That would be a good tool that you could use to create an embedded RSS feed in the rebuild. And that's a way to dynamically update that content. So anyway, like I said, CTR is what I use mainly, but you can do it a number of other ways as well. Okay. Is there a way we can incorporate competitor keywords into our link building anchor text to improve visibility in the SERPs? I don't like to do that. It probably could bear, I mean, not probably, it might make sense to do some testing on that. I don't like to do that because I don't want to dilute like the brand authority that I'm building with links. Does that make sense? I don't want to confuse Google by pushing branded anchors for another brand, you know, linking to my target assets, if that makes sense. I haven't tested that, but personally, because I've never wanted to, because of the reasons I just mentioned. Like, I don't want to dilute the brand authority that I'm building for that brand. It wouldn't make sense to do that. Although, like I said, I haven't tested to see if there's any benefit to doing that. If there's, you know, so that a question like that, I can only give you speculate as to what the results would be, which I don't like to speculate. And if I do speculate, I'm going to always preface it, like disclaim that, hey, this is pure speculation. So I don't know if this would have any effect or not. It would probably be worth testing, but I certainly wouldn't want to test that on a project, a client project or anything like that. It would have to be a test project that I would test that on first. Personally, I don't want to do it because, as I just mentioned, I don't want to dilute the brand authority that I'm building for any particular brand. Okay. But there might be some interesting data to come from a test like that. It's worth testing. It's not something I'm going to test, but perhaps you should. Next one. Is there anything we can do with other search engines like Yahoo and DuckDuckGo in terms of schema to help our entity SEO efforts, trying to improve brand SERPs? Hey, Chris, what was that? Essie's going to talk Bing pages. I know we haven't done it yet. And so I'm just wondering if you can jump on for a second. You pointed it out, I think. Is Chris not available?
I can't remember. I think that was it. But yeah, I don't know if he's okay there. I know it's like pretty late for him, but yeah. I thought that was what it was.
Yeah, I think you're right, Adam. So in Syndication Academy, I think one of the next update webinars that Essie is going to do is going to include something that Chris found, which looks really interesting and has some schema aspects to it. I have not gone through it yet. In fact, we had a meeting with Essie yesterday, our trainer for Syndication Academy, and she asked me some questions about that. So I think in October, I put it on my schedule. So in October, I'm going to do some guest hosting in the Syndication Academy update webinar with her. Specifically about some kind of new things that we found in the last few months, including schema stuff. But I don't have a real good answer for you for that yet, because I haven't really done anything outside of Google SEO in several years now. For a while there, I was doing quite a bit of stuff on Bing, but that was 3 or 4 years ago now. But there is something called Bing pages. And again, we're going to cover this in Syndication Academy update webinar. I think the next webinar, if not that one, the one after that. But you might want to check this out. I don't know much about it because I haven't done anything yet, but it's called Bing Pages. So yeah, if you're not already in the Syndication Academy, you might want to get into that, because she's going to do some training on how to set this up and how to integrate it with everything else that we do. So check that out. That's the only thing I can suggest at this point. Yeah. Okay, next one. Is there any tools you're using for quickly turning reviews to videos? Yeah, David Sprague's Rep Videos. Tried the link for Rep Videos, but never heard back. Well, he just started, stand by. I'm going to pause my screen for a minute. I don't have an affiliate link for this, but I just got an email from him about it. They just redid a whole bunch of stuff in Rep Videos, and added a whole bunch of new stuff. And they've got a promo going on right now. So I'm going to grab the link for that. And let's see, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just
cool. Bradley, shoot it to me in Slack and I'll create an SM link for that.
Okay. That's a good point. Now, again, this is not our affiliate link. I don't have an affiliate link for this, but I'm going to shoot this to you in Slack, Adam, right now. And I know you guys aren't seeing my screen.
Cool.
If you could
Yeah,
just
and I'll put that on the page in a sec for everybody.
rep videos. But yeah, this is, let me see if I can do this. So yeah, all right. So this is it. It's rep videos. Adam will post the link, guys, but this is what I use. It's great. And they've got some really new cool features that they've added to it. And again, this is not an affiliate link. This is just straight up. I use this. I've been using rep videos for years. And I just had to pay $100 an upgrade to get the new features added to my account, which wasn't bad at all. But it's they've got some really cool stuff now, like a commercial to sell rep videos. They've got like a commercial template now, so that you can use that to as a like a sales video to sell reputation video services. So yeah, that's the only thing I use. I don't have any other suggestions. Just check out rep videos. And he's promoting that currently right now. So I know for sure you can get access to it. Okay. What type of link building are you doing these days to drive stacks and ID pages? With PBNs being expensive, looking for advice on the best ROI target, return on investment or ROI targets to power up. Yeah, I'm not joking when I say the only kind of link building I do now is what I talk about here. Semantically relevant or topically relevant link building, period. End of story, full stop. Like that's it. That's all I do. That and citations and press releases. So you guys understand semantically relevant links, citations and press releases. That's all I do. So when it comes to the drive stack, I'll hit the G site usually with the topically relevant links. If I'm going to do any sort of other kind of link building, there might be some drive files, like for example, a Google Sheet, those that I'll, and I talk about this in the mastermind, but we take the Google Sheet from a drive stack that has all the links on it. And then I go in and I add in like all my citation links and branded Web 2.0 profile links and all that kind of stuff. So we build up that one sheet that has all the links on it with anchor text links, we make the cells the link in the sheet. And then we add the anchor text. So I just generate a big list of keywords for that project. And then I turn all of the links that I'm going to add into the drive stack sheet, which includes all the drive file links and everything else. But then I also, once I receive that back from the drive stack provider, I go in and edit that sheet and add in all of my citations that I export from Bright Local reports. I also go all my Web 2, branded Web 2 assets, all of the other assets that I built out that are branded assets. That's it, just branded assets. I put all of those in the sheet in one column. Then I have the keywords in the next column. And then I do a formula to, what do they call it? I can never say that word, but anyways, where it combines in the next column, it combines or turns the URL into an anchor text link, right, with those keywords. And then once I do that, I copy all the values, paste it in so that now we've got the keyword anchor text links going out to all my assets. And then that becomes another link building target. So you can hit that Google Sheet with topically relevant links. Again, the whole point is because if you're going to put all your branded assets in there, why would you want to hit that with a bunch of spam? Like branded assets, hit them with topically relevant links. You're going to do yourselves. It requires less links, it might seem expensive up front, but it's actually more cost effective to do it because those links provide a lot more value and a lot more push than bulk spam does that you have to constantly replenish because those links get de-indexed or the sites get terminated that they were published on over time. With bulk spam, guys, you constantly have to refresh the links, right? You have to constantly be building links because it's natural for those kind of links to kind of drop out of the index or to be suspended or terminated from those sites. It just happens. That's just the nature of those kind of links. It's fine if you want to do that, but you have to constantly keep buying bulk link packages to hit the same targets over and over again over time, because otherwise you can't just one and done it. With the types of stuff the types of links that we build or that I build, you don't have to worry about that. Right? You hit them with topically relevant links. And especially when you hit key things like the ID page, for example, press advantage organization page, like iframe stacks, a Google site's another one that you can do that on, right? You hit those kind of pages with topically relevant links and it kind of pushes and distributes out across all of your assets that are iframed into there. That's why G sites work so well. ID pages work so well. Press advantage organization pages. Yaks, if you're using Jesper Nissen's Yaks, yet another cloud stacking software, you can create cloud pages. And then instead of adding images to there's most of the templates have the 5 images that go next to the content blocks. You can create embeds. You can do embeds in the cloud pages. And now, again, that cloud page becomes a perfect link building target for topically relevant links, because then it will push that kind of topical relevance and it will distribute it. That's what I was looking for. Distribute it across all of those iframes or embeds that are on that cloud page. So when it comes back to, again, the G site drive stack, I like to hit the G site. Mostly that's what I do, is just link build to the G site now, not to the individual drive files and folders. But if I'm going to do that, then I will hit the sheet. Mainly the sheet is kind of like my primary link building target when I'm going to hit an individual drive stack file. But mostly I just hit the G site now as a primary tier 1 link building asset. And that becomes one of my, again, primary link building assets that we build a lot of links to the G site. It really powers it up. And then again, it kind of distributes out across all the embeds that you have and the drive files and folders that you have embedded into the G site. So that's the most cost-effective way to do it, in my opinion. Okay. Again, I know other people out there still using bulk spam and getting results. That's fine. Hey, man, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I talk about what works for me and what I found works incredibly well. And I don't like doing a bunch of bulk spam stuff because I don't like to have to constantly replenish it. I like the links that I'm building now because they last, they work and they last. They're topically relevant. It's not spam, So anyway. All right, next one. Yeah, and ID pages are great targets for these kind of links, guys, because it's an iframe stack, a Press Manager organization page, same thing. Cloud pages, if you're doing cloud pages with iframes, they become perfect link building targets for this kind of link building. All right, next one. I have a client with 400 location pages on a money site. Would it be a good idea to put all of these URLs into a G sheet and drive stack and build mass web 2 links or embed into a press release? For the reasons I just mentioned, I wouldn't do mass web 2 links to that. It makes sense to put all of those location pages into a sheet and then hit that sheet with some topically relevant links. That makes sense. But I wouldn't, I just don't see maybe I'm not doing enough of them. I'm just not going to do them anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I got away from doing like bulk mass spam links because I was finding less and less effect. I'd have to buy more and more links and it was producing less and less effect. And I got tired of it and I stopped doing it. So you can try that too. You probably, if you hit it with enough links, yeah, it'll help. I'm not saying that doesn't work. I'm just saying that's not the method that I want to use anymore. I prefer what I like. I do a lot less quality, much higher quality, a lot less quantity, excuse me, much higher quality. And I like that because those links, they last, right? They stay indexed. I don't have to worry about that. If you run click-through rate referral traffic through them, here's the thing, guys. Could you run CTR manipulation traffic through thousands or tens of thousands of Web 2 spam links? No, you can't. Maybe you can, but you're going to have a really big freaking proxy bill every month. So could you imagine trying to set those campaigns up and all that? But if you're building, instead of spending $300 on tens of thousands of spam links in a month and then having to figure out like how do you keep those links indexed and keep them from atrophy, right, or from decaying and all of that kind of stuff, it's really almost impossible to do when you're dealing with that many links. But instead, if you were to spend $300 and build 4 or 5 rebuilds or get 15 PBN posts that are on topically relevant sites, now can you set up CTR referral traffic campaigns to 5 rebuilds or to 15 PBN links? Yeah, of course you can. And that's a hell of a lot more manageable. And that makes those links much more valuable for much longer because now you're getting click-through activity, engagement signals on that link, which prevents it from decaying or at least slows it down. Does that make sense? So in my opinion, it's so much easier. It's so much easier to manage, so much easier to maintain. It provides topical relevance. It provides value. And so again, I don't like to do any of that. So for you specifically, if I was going to do this 400 location pages in a G sheet, yeah. And I would also do what I just mentioned, perhaps, turn those into like keyword anchor text links. It's not really the same as a keyword anchor text link, but it does add some relevance. And then I would hit that with topically relevant links, especially because if you say a client with 400 location pages, right, that client is in whatever industry they're in. So there's going to be one and maybe a couple or 3 most appropriate or the topical trust flow categories. So if you hit that sheet with your 400 location pages that's in whatever industry it's in, with appropriate topical trust flow, right? Or so topically relevant links in the appropriate category, then you can hit that sheet with all of those 400 location pages. And then I would hit that with topically relevant links. Especially because if you say a client with 400 location pages, right, that client is in whatever industry it's in. So there's going to be one and maybe a couple or 3 most appropriate or the topical trust flow categories. So if you hit that sheet with all of those 400 location pages that's in whatever industry it's in, with appropriate topical trust flow, right? Or so topically relevant links in the appropriate category, Now you're going to power up all of those locations with the appropriate kind of topical relevance that you should. Way more effective, in my opinion, than bulk mass to web links that you're going to have to keep doing over and over and over again. But that's my opinion. So next one, do you know of any good real social signal services? No, unfortunately, no. And I know what you're asking. Fancy Mind says, not spam bot accounts, but something we can use to get real relevant shares, tweets, etc. for blog posts or money site pages. The only thing I could think of is there are a few, what's it called, Triber? Yeah, this is probably one of them. There's another one that I know of too, but I can't think of the name of the top of my head. But Triber, this might work for you because these are real people, and it's a network for sharing content and all of that. So you might want to try Triber with 2 R's. I know there's another, like I said, there's another service that was on AppSumo. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, and I don't know if it's still on AppSumo. I'll have to go see if I can find it. But I know there's another service that does something similar to this. But these are real people. This is not bots. I get what you're saying, by the way, and why you're asking this question, because, you know, I did a test on this. I think it was in 2015. So it's been 8 years since I did a test on this. But I did a test, a case study test in the Mastermind for testing social signal services. And I tested like 5 different services. And I did it over, I think, a 90, maybe it might have been 6 weeks instead of 12 weeks. But it was a test that I did across several different properties. I tested different services, and I found that there was no benefit from buying spam social signals. If you could get real social signals with 2-tiered signals, which means you get so what do I mean by that? Well, a social signal, like, think about this, guys. If you publish a blog post on your site and you have social like counters and things like that, you can get a like, right? Like a Facebook like. That's a signal for that page, but it's a very minor signal. What's better is a share, a social share. So somebody grabs that URL or clicks the share button and then shares that URL on Facebook. That's like a backlink. It's a social share, but it's like a backlink. That is much more valuable than a like is to that on that post. Does that make sense? But now if you get a social share, so let's say that that post has now been shared on Facebook, and then that Facebook post, which is the shared URL, gets engagement. So comments and likes and that kind of stuff. Now that's a powerful social signals, right? Does that make sense? That share now gets engagement signals from that post on Facebook. And I'm just using Facebook as an example. Same goes with tweets or YouTube or anything else. If you can get a share and then get engagement on the social post, which is the shared page or blog post, that is an effective signal, much more effective than just straight up likes or tweets or even just shares that never get any engagement. So that's my point. I tested a bunch of different services and I found that purchasing social signals did nothing for SEO. And this was years ago. So I can't imagine that all of a sudden now getting likes is now going to help your SEO. Like if this was 8 years ago, I think it was 2015, it might've been 2016 or 17. But anyways, however long ago it was, it didn't work back then. I can't imagine spam social signals now all of a sudden magically working. So I don't think it's even worth another test. But what I was saying was if you could get social shares and an engagement on those shares, that was effective. However many years ago it was that I did the test. And there was only, at the time, Triber didn't exist. I know I've had, this has been on my radar for like 2 years and I have not tested it. Just haven't had the time. But I think this would be worthy of testing. There was another one called, I don't know if I still have that. Yeah, this was the one that I used in the past, which I think was a Dan Anton product. And you can see how slow it's loading. It probably has not been maintained in years. My guess, this website has not changed in 7 years. Yeah, it's broke. So anyway,
I love the big portal for at the bottom.
Yeah, it's broke. It's broke. But this is what I had tested with for a while, which was again many years ago. And they did tiered social signals, but and this was a little bit more effective than just purchasing spam social signals because they were tiered. But like I said, it's the whole point is why I think Triber and things like this is because not only are you just going to get social signals, but you're going to get social signals from people that have an affinity for those topics. What does that mean? Well, an affinity is like an overall interest, a long-term interest in a particular topic, right? So that's the thing about like Triber is if you're getting real shares from real people that are interested in certain kinds of content, they have a history, a known affinity by Google. Trust me, Google knows this, that they're interested and that they engage regularly with content around that topic. And so now if you're getting social activity from those types of people, that that kind of a signal is weighted so much more heavy, or so much heavier, I should say, because Google understands that those are people that have an affinity, which is a known interest, a historical interest in that kind of topic, and they engage with that kind of stuff. So now that is a much better signal than just getting some random spam like or comment from some random profile out there that really has, that is, especially when they're spam profiles, you know that they're liking and commenting and engaging with all kinds of different content across all different kinds of topics because they're spam profiles, right? And that's not how most people typically behave, right? Natural behavior is people have certain things they're interested in and that they engage with regularly, which is what's called an affinity. And so like affinity audiences are great signals to get, or are great sources to get signals from. That makes sense. They're weighted much heavier that way, produce much more value. So anyways, again, I've not tested this, but it'd be worth testing. And if you do test it, please come back and let us know. All right, next one. For new sites, best to 301 redirect category archives to respective target page and no index or not to look more natural to Google. No, well, here's the thing. If you are redirecting the category archive page to the top level page, product or service page, which is what I do for local projects, there's no reason not to set it to no index. The only time you would want to no index a category archive page is if you are leaving the category archive pages the way that they are, but you don't want them to index because it's just a blog role for any posts within that category, if that makes sense. What I don't ever recommend setting categories to no index, especially if you're going to redirect it to the top level product or service page, the top of silo page. Anyways, it doesn't matter whether you set it to no index or not, because it's redirected to the money page, and the money page, top of silo page, is going to be set to index anyways. So that makes no difference. If you're going to redirect it, just redirect it. You don't have to set to no index. What I was going to say when it comes to taxonomies, right? So in WordPress, there's categories and there's tags, right? I always recommend no indexing tag archives unless you know what you're doing with tags. So, and why do I say that? Well, because in case you guys don't know this, in WordPress, when you add a tag to a post, it creates a tag page with that. So it's domain.com/tag/whatever and in the slug is whatever the tag is. So let's just say, we'll say tree service is a tag, right? If we say tree service is a tag, and we put tree service on one post, and that's it. We tag one post with tree service, and that's it. Now we've got, and we have a post that's published that's optimized for tree service, if that makes sense. Now that post is going to be published on the blog, and then there will be a tag page that has just that one post in the archive. The tag archive page will only have that one post. So now you've got two pages on the site that are duplicates of each other, right? And so it's not duplicate content because one is a URL that is the, domain.com/post slug. The other one is domain.com/tag slug. So it's two different URLs, but for a lot of WordPress themes, it depends on the theme or the WordPress theme. Sometimes the archive page will have a snippet. Sometimes it will be the full post. So a tag archive or category archive page, it depends. Most of them now are snippets. They're not actual full posts. But either way, what I'm saying is if you only use a tag on one post, now you've got two pages on the site that are all basically identical. They're duplicates, if that makes sense. And so that can be an issue. Where tags, so that's why I recommend to most people, just no index your tag archive pages, because most people don't know how to use tags properly, or you know what I mean? So what I'm saying though, is if you use a tag strategically, and by the way, if you know, you can do some really cool things with single tag archive pages, because you can canonicalize those to its corresponding post. And then you can use the tag archive page as a link building target. And it kind of masks prying eyes from seeing what you're doing. Because if you don't know this, a canonical will pass link relevance and equity to its target. So you can set up a tag page, no index it, but have a canonical that links to its corresponding post. And then you could use the tag archive page as a link building target, right? Does that make sense? So then if prying eyes, other SEOs want to take a look at your post and figure, damn, these guys are doing so well. How are they ranking? I don't see any backlinks. So it's because the backlinks are pointed to a tag page, which is canonicalized to the post. Anyways, that's kind of more advanced stuff. But what I'm saying is with the tag stuff, with tag archives, you can do some pretty cool things with it if you do it right. But tags you shouldn't use unique tags unless you are doing it like you know what you're doing, as I just described. Otherwise, tags should be kind of like a common, you should have a tag shared at least across 2 posts. Does that make sense? So then each individual post that has that tag has its own post URLs, its own page essentially on the site. But then the tag archive page will now have 2 posts instead of just the 1 post, which mimics being a duplicate of its original. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's clear or not. But so when it comes to setting taxonomy pages to index or no index, I recommend only no indexing the tag archive pages for most people. If you're an advanced SEO and you know how to use tags properly, then it's not necessary to do that because you can use them very strategically. Again, share tags across more than 1 post. If you are going to do a unique tag for any 1 post, then you want to set a canonical, which you have to have some sort of an advanced SEO plugin in order to set a canonical for a tag page. But you can set the canonical for that tag page to its post. So now you have 2 post URLs or 2 different URLs that you can use as link building targets. But the one that would be the duplicate, which is the tag archive page, is canonicalized to its source, which is the proper way to do things anyways. Does that make sense? So for category archives, though, like I said, there's no reason to no index that. I do like to redirect category archive pages up to its corresponding top of silo page. And a lot of you, some of you guys probably have no idea what the hell I just said, but I'm speaking specifically to Henry because that's what he asked and I gave him the answer. If that was a little bit more advanced, then, come join the mastermind and learn what the hell I was talking about. Or is it better to build out category archive pages with content and interlink properly? Well, there's something to be said for that. Now, some of the kind of more advanced, SEO plugins and things like that is you can add additional content to a category archive page. So that can be a standalone page that you can do some pretty cool SEO stuff with as well. Think about that. If you are creating a category for a silo and you're going to be publishing supporting posts and place them within that silo, then couldn't that category archive page also, if you can add additional content like static content to that page, which in some cases you can, then it makes sense that to use that page potentially as another landing page on your site. So there is something to be said for that as well. But again, that's kind of a more advanced site build, which I don't really have time to get into all of that here. But just on a kind of a short answer would be, yeah, category archive pages. I like to redirect those 9 times out of 10 to the top of silo page. You don't need to no index it because it's redirected anyways. Okay. The only thing you might want to do in that case would be to omit the category from your site maps. If you're going to have it redirected to the top of silo page, you might want to disable the category site maps because it's not necessary at that point, if that makes sense. Okay. Hey guys, hope all is well. Any tips on getting new content ideas for GMB posts to help ranking? I'm running out of ideas. Or can you just repost old content and run it through Quillbot with the same images? Well, actually, Google's starting to crack down on that. They're starting to reject posts with when you use the same image over and over again. They're starting to reject that. That's like just starting actually. So I don't recommend that. But you can spin images. Like you can, I've talked about this before, but I like to add QR codes to images now. I used to do text overlay and logo overlay and all that. Now I'm just doing QR code overlay that links, the QR code is linked to Google Business website, Google Map, different money site pages, that kind of stuff. So what you can do is take an image, one image, and then create multiple versions of it by just moving the QR code around. If you're doing that, or changing the text if you're doing text overlay, or moving the logo around if you're going to do logo overlay. There's a number of things that you can do for that. As far as the content, yeah, just run something through Quillbot or Page Rewriter. That's perfectly fine. Also, like I don't know if you guys use Jasper, but Jasper is really good at publishing Google Business posts. You can use Jasper for that.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what I would do just for ideas too. Like you could just say like, hey, give me some ideas about this if you want to write or have it write it. And then with the release 2 of the, there's already several commercial ones, but I've got into the DALL-E, like the OpenAI image beta, and then I think Jasper is doing their own version, or maybe it's somehow piggybacking off of that. But yeah, where you can go and create unique images, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, let me just, I know I got my screen sharing turned off for a minute, but I just logged into Jasper for a minute. And
I think maybe Content Kings needs to add GMB content.
Yeah. The hell is that? It's fucking weird. Let me restart this. I know we're going to run out of time, but I just wanted to, I don't know what that weird line is right there, but whatever. I'm going to say, give me some Google business post ideas for a tree service company. Let's see, 1 O or 2 O's in Google, not 3. And then Control Enter. So there you go. 5 mistakes people, well, I don't know why I said Christmas tree, but so I would ask Jasper to regenerate because I didn't say Christmas tree. So there you go. That's more relevant. You see that? So like here's some ideas, post ideas, and then you can take one of those ideas, plug it into the content brief, and then say, and then you can use one of the recipes, which they have for Google Business Posts, and then it will start pumping it out. And every time you do it, it comes out unique or different. So again, I use the shit out of Jasper, guys. There's no question. My whole team does actually. So that might be something you can do. Another one you could do is like, give me, you could say, write frequently asked questions, or FAQs for a tree service company, something like that, right? And then you can get a list of, it'll give you questions that you can publish posts about, right? Like you take each one of these questions and then publish a Google Business post answering one of those questions. And you see how like Jasper just spit out several questions here and gave us the answers, right? And then you could flesh that out a little bit more. That makes sense. So you can see how very quickly you can generate a month's worth of Google Business posts in Jasper in just a few minutes. It's crazy. I love this tool. So anyway. Okay. We're going to run out of time. Afternoon, Bradley. I was looking forward to Wednesday to hear your counsel. I always look forward. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was in the old Mastermind back when we had Zane. Yeah, Zane Miller, who ghosted us, just completely dropped off the face of the planet, never contacted us again. I never understood what happened with that, but whatever. Whatever happened to him, I have no idea. Nobody knows. Whatever. Anyways, does pointing an expired domain to a maps URL increase metrics on those links? To a maps URL, I pointed one and the metrics are not showing up and it's been a month. Maybe I'm pointing at the wrong link. How are other ways to increase the power of the maps URL? Well, it depends on what link you're pointing the links to, right? Here's the thing. Remember, a Google Map URL, there's multiple versions of it, right? There's the CID map URL. There's the share map URL, which changes. Sorry.
All right.
Oh, there's the CID URL, which that's not going to change. That's the only URL that you can push link equity into anyways. And I don't recommend building a lot of links to that because nobody builds links to that but SEOs, because nobody even knows how to get that link. Nobody knows how to get the CID. Nobody knows what a CID map URL is except for us. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't make sense to build links to that. The map share URL, that's going to change. Like that changes each time you generate it. It can change, right? It can be a different string of characters. It all redirects to the same thing. But not only that, it's a 302 redirect. So it doesn't push any link equity into the map. So you don't get any benefit from that. There is a benefit to build links to the map share URL though, because Google expects to see maps or links built to that URL. And where it really matters is getting click-through activity through that map share URL. That is expected. So CTR manipulation through a map share URL is a great signal. But you could also build links to the real long, ugly URL. But I don't recommend that either. So because you'd have to, it depends on, you have to track. I don't know what just happened. What the hell just happened? I just lost my, let me try to get it back, guys. I don't know what just happened, but I lost my page. Anyway, what I was going to say was, are we still on? I lost everything for a minute. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we're still good.
Okay. My whole monitor just like freaked out on me for a minute. Had a seizure. Anyway, the map URL, you also got to look at the different URLs that you built links to. and make sure that you're tracking the backlinks pointing to that specific URL. So like in Majestic, when you are looking at a URL, it's only going to show you the backlinks pointing to that specific URL. And there's different versions of that. It's 5 o'clock, so I know we got to run. But for example, if you build links to an HTTPS version of a URL, and then you check HTTP version, you're not going to see the backlinks built to it because the backlinks were built to the HTTPS version. So you got to be real careful. If you're building links to a map URL, you got to make sure that you're checking that map, that specific version of the URL to see those links built to it. Does that make sense? So I don't recommend like trying to, you know, for maps, the best thing to do is to do embeds, Google Map embeds. That's the best thing to do. That's typically what I do. Okay. Yeah, and you really don't need to, I mean, again, the CID map URL is the only map URL that you can push link equity into the map with, and I don't like to do that. I only try to do that very, very, very strategically. All right, I'm almost done, guys. Hi, I'm following up SOP for GMB optimization. I've heard multiple times before that all geodata is stripped by Google. Sterling Sky, Ben Fisher said that. So, Bradley, do you have other insights on that, or should I geotag? Well, I like to geotag because they do strip the data, but when you upload it to them, they read that data. Yes, they strip that data out, but they read that data upon upload. Does that make sense? It absolutely strips the data out. Now, there is one way that you can do it with Google Photos that it doesn't strip the data out, but that is way beyond the Hump Day Hangouts that we can even talk about that. So, but yes, Google does strip that data when you upload it, but it reads that data upon upload. So it is an additional signal. It's a relevance signal, a geo-relevance signal that you can add to it. But as I said, that's why I like to use QR codes, because with QR codes superimposed on the image, the Googlebot reads that QR code and it follows that link. So it's a way to kind of push, you can do a lot of ninja things, which again, it's beyond the scope of a Hump Day Hangouts, which is free. In the Mastermind, we can talk about some pretty cool things you can do with QR codes too, to add geo-relevance to images. But that's just, you know, maybe you can start getting your creative juices flowing on that. But you're right, it does strip that data out when you upload it. But upon upload, Google is reading that data. So that's why I still do that. I still geotag images. Fancy being Ina. What's up, Ina? New Mastermind member. Bradley, what's your favorite tools to find good expired domains with favorable trust flow metrics? PBN Lab, smshort.link/PBN Lab. smshort.link/PBN Lab. That is the tool that I use. I've got 3 EXA level subscriptions. I paid damn near $1,000 a month for those 3, but it's totally worth it. What is the quickest way to get the list of all the directories my business already registered? Not all the backlinks, just the directories. Bright Local, Citation Report, or any one of the tools that do something similar. I use Bright Local. So Bright Local Citation Report, and then you just export the CSV file from the report. Thank you for all your tips. My question is, do you have any advice on how to structure a website that has one single physical location, but we want to rank in different cities without a physical location? Yeah, you just have to do it organically. So say a plumber in Dallas, but also want to go to Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. Yeah, you just have to create, I like to create location silos on those kind of sites so that you can add supporting posts that add geo-relevance to that specific location. So you publish supporting posts within that silo. So I like to do location silos for a project like this. If that makes sense. And you can add geo-relevance through supporting posts within those silos. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we cover that kind of stuff in the Mastermind all the time. So I would encourage you to check it out, because I mean, I can diagram that out for you on a Mastermind webinar. Seriously, I can show you examples, all of that. That's what we do in the Mastermind. So, yeah, I already covered that. Go back, Friendly Settler, if you want a full description of what the difference is between the links I sell on Vetted and what I sell at Semantic Links. At the very beginning of this, once we got done with the introductions, I spent about 5 or 6 minutes describing exactly that. So just go back and watch the beginning of this Hump Day Hangouts, and you'll see an answer to that question. Bradley, do you run CTR referral traffic to your Google Sheets? No, I do not. I run referral traffic to tier 1 rebuilds or tier 1 links, but that's about it. James, I did join today. Awesome. Thank you, James. I think you came on the recommendation of one of our colleagues. So thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around for a few minutes, Chris. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.